respected dignitaries on the dais, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you today on behalf of the Ministry of Finance, Government of India, Finance Department, Government of Gujarat, CII, and I thank you all for participating in this Invest in India Summit 2015. The inaugural session was quite a warm one, or rather heated one, despite the room is quite cold. We have just installed a this is a newly built hall, and the AC has made it quite cold, but the discussion in the last seminar, in the inaugural one, was quite warm. In this session, we are having distinguished speakers from government and industry who are going to talk about the opportunities in domestic and international finance services for future growth. The session will cover opportunities for Indian and foreign bank, non-banking finance corporations, companies, insurance companies, and capital market in the domestic and international financial services sector in the country. Further, the session speakers will also talk about World Trade Center and International Financial Services Center, which will be the enabler for future growth in the country. As one of the most industrialized states in India, Gujarat has been playing an increasingly important role in making India shine. The foundation of growth of Gujarat has been laid on the vision and outlook of its leadership enshrined by our beloved leader Modi ji, enterprise of its people. The Gujaratis have been known to be entrepreneurs, traders, industrialists since the Harappan times. The sound financial acumen and very solid infrastructure of this state. We have capitalized on these and have supported them by friendly policies, good governance, a strong and supportive bureaucracy, a requisite infrastructure, and most importantly, skilling our manpower. In this regard, I would like to reiterate the key initiative in the finance sector taken by the government of Gujarat with the vision of transforming India into an emerging global financial hub by setting up the GIFT City, that is Gujarat International Finance Tech City. Developing countries' first global financial hub at GIFT City as a smart city has been the vision of Modi ji, Honorable Prime Minister of India, and the Gujarat government led by Mrs. Anandiben Patel. With the help of central government, we are taking all necessary steps to fast-track the development of GIFT City, which will transform the state of Gujarat and India as a whole and create large number of jobs. I once again welcome you all to this session and wish and hope that you will all gain substantially from the discussions being held now. Thank you.
May we request our session chairman, Dr. Hasmukh Arya, to give his opening remarks?
Good morning or good afternoon already, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think I need to give any more opening remarks. We have a panel of 8 distinguished panelists here today, and I think it's important that we listen to all of them and we give them some time for expressing their point of view. And I would also think that it will be more useful if we can have some time for interaction at the end, where I think during question and answer, most of the points come out. So I would wish that we have some time for interaction at least. But we have to finish by what time? 1:30? 1:30 is the time, but we could extend it by 15 minutes, 1:45 or something. So with this, I think we have speakers who will be talking about the domestic financing, about the role of foreign banks, about the capital markets, about the international finance city, about the importance of World Trade Center. All these topics are going to be covered. So straight away, let me request Ms. Arundhati Bhattacharya. She is a chairperson of SBI. And as you know, SBI is our largest public sector bank. Not only public sector bank, it is the largest bank in India, in fact. And you would be happy to know that the size of assets of SBI, only on one side, asset size or liability side, so you can say total deposits of SBI are equivalent to 1 year's budget of Government of India, which is 18 lakh crore. So this is the bank she is heading, and we are proud of this bank, SBI. SBI is bankers to the country also. And Ms. Bhattacharya is known for her very articulate views, and I'm sure it'll be a pleasure to listen to her. Ms. Bhattacharya.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, sir, for that very kind introduction. I was asked to speak about opportunities in domestic and international banking services. Frankly, if you have been listening to the dignitaries who have been talking at this very forum itself, it's very clear that, you know, India stands out from amongst the host of nations as that one particular economy which is really a spark rather than the other way around. Last year at about this time, we were sort of clubbed together with what were called the Fragile Five economies. Today, the Fragile Five have really fallen off, and India remains one of those destinations which definitely is something that all investors are looking at. Now, what is the reason for this? The reason, again, as the Prime Minister himself said, that we can challenge anybody to find another country which has the 3 Ds, that is democracy, demography, and demand. Today, when everything, all commercial decisions are based on demand, India already has huge demand within the country. Regarding the demography itself, that is what is really pushing all of the people in India to prompt everybody to say that growth is going to be our only mantra. Because without growth, we will not be able to take care of this demography. And when you come to democracy, at the end of it all, when a business decision is taken, it is taken on the basis of the fact as to how much of certainty or uncertainty is there. And in India today, on account of the fact that democracy has worked so well, that the people have exercised their mandate so well, we have a stable majority government which has clearly indicated that growth is going to be its priority. So given all of these 3 things, I think the opportunities for funding, for financing, both in the domestic as well as in the international arena is huge. In the domestic area, I will quickly touch upon few of the points where I believe growth is awaiting and where we can definitely absorb a lot of investment. Starting from the very bottom, that is agriculture. We are seeing that in agriculture, things are changing in India. The change that we are seeing is it is becoming less labor intensive. As more and more village people get educated, they have aspirations. Many of them migrate into the cities, into the urban spaces, leaving the rural areas lacking of labor. And therefore, if lack of labor is one element, the other element that is driving agriculture today is the fact that we need to save the quality of land. We cannot allow the degradation of land. And for ensuring that there is no degradation of land, we have to use the right quantity of fertilizers, we have to use the right quantity of water. Now, for all of this, what is required is capital formation in agriculture. Today in India, capital formation in agriculture is very, very low. Therefore, this is one clear area of financing that is coming up. Next, if we come to the next stage, that is the SME or the small business. Again, in India, out of 4 small businesses, only 1 has investment or financing from the regular banking source. All the rest 3 are from the area of informal financing. Therefore, again, it is up to us to ensure that we connect up with all of these retail borrowers and ensure that they get financing at the right costs. This is something for which, again, technology is very much required. A number of projects are already on hand, including the Jan Dhan, which will help us to connect more and more people. But at the end of it, we need technology platforms which can capture the cash flows of these small and marginal players and then give them the money, give them the financing to enable them to leverage and grow bigger. Next, you come to the mid-corporate segment. The mid-corporate segment are those that have grown from the SME and now are looking at a bigger segment of the pie. There again, I think we need to come up with innovative ways to ensure that these people not only are able to access finance from banks, but are also able to access equity as and when is required so that they also can scale. Not only that, they need a lot more hand-holding to enable them to access foreign markets, to be able to sell their goods in the best possible manner to the best possible customer. Again, these are areas where the banks can look into and where they can create customized products for the mid-corporate segment in order to support them. Of course, thereafter you come to the large corporates, and in respect of the large corporates, while the banks are doing quite a bit, but even there I believe that there is a lot of innovation that the banks can see. Today in India, most of banking is very plain vanilla banking. It is deposit taking and making of loans. But in between, there are very many ways in which corporates can be helped. There are lots of hybrid instruments that can be looked at. There are ways of structuring loans so that we capture the cash flow as it comes, rather than give a repayment schedule that is unrealistic and which cannot be met. So there are ways and means in which we can make the financing that we are doing currently to Indians more responsive of the needs that they have, rather than fit them into whatever is the schemes or the products that we have. Similarly, in international finance, India today needs to ensure that they are ensuring the security of various commodities. Today, if you see, China is there in a big way in places like Africa. India has not been able to go into Africa to that extent. Not only in Africa, if you look at even our neighboring states, the neighboring countries, the PM has taken a very clear view that we must grow together in the neighborhood. So if you even consider that, there is great scope for Indian banking segment to go into the neighboring countries and see how best the products that we have done well can also be used for them. Therefore, I believe we are really at an inflection point in India where the scope for financing, the scope for investment, either in domestic or in the international area, is huge. It is now up to us to take those opportunities and to run with them and to make the best of them. Again, I think Dr. Adia said the right thing, that it would be probably a better way if I interact directly, and if there are questions, I'd like to answer them. I do not want to make a very long speech because we have a very eminent panel here, but I do believe that we are looking at an era when there will be explosive growth. We need to prepare ourselves adequately for it, both on the policy front as well as on the actions front. And I do believe that we are taking the necessary action to be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that was the briefest possible speech, and I think I appreciate that. I think we'll listen to all the speakers first and then an interaction. So I'll request the next speaker, Mr. S.K. Roy, who is the chairman of Life Insurance Corporation of India. Again, it's one of our giant insurance companies of India. They have the largest share in insurance, both in life as well as general insurance, almost 75%, right? And so I'll request Mr. Roy to kindly say a few words.
Good afternoon, my distinguished panelists on the dais and ladies and gentlemen. I'm grateful to the Secretary, Department of Financial Services, for the good words that he has spoken about LIC. I just want to start by sharing a very little amount of data about LIC with all of you. and then I go ahead and share a few thoughts on the topic that has been assigned to me. In India, we have life insurance, non-life insurance or general insurance as it is called, health insurance and reinsurance as standalone verticals. I represent the life insurance industry here. LIC, as many of you know, and as just Secretary mentioned, we are the largest player in the country, and in a few respects, we are the largest in the world also. As on 31st of March 2014, we were serving 296 million customers individually through our various products. This number of 296 million is the fourth largest national population on planet Earth. So I think that gives an indication as to on one of the parameters on which LIC is a very large organization. We have an asset size of approximately 18 trillion, which, as Secretary was mentioning in his introduction to SBI, it is roughly approximate to the annual budget of the country. We have approximately 3 trillion rupees invested in infrastructure and the socially oriented structure, and this is what is relevant as far as the topic that we are discussing here today. I dare say that LIC is a very compliant organization. When the initial invite came, I was given to understand that this will be a panel discussion. On Saturday, I was told that I would have to address the audience, and because we are very compliant, I am addressing all of you. Before I go into what the insurance sector can do as far as the growth opportunities in India are concerned, I just want to take this opportunity of being in the Vibrant Gujarat Summit, share with you a little bit about what is LIC's exposure in the state of Gujarat. As at the end of last month, our exposure in the government of Gujarat and its various schemes was approximately 27,000 crores. And our exposure in corporate entities which are registered in the state of Gujarat was approximately 20,000 crores. So both put together, we have an exposure of approximately 48,000 crores as at the end of last month. And my belief is that by the time this financial year ends, we would be knocking on the doors of investments valued at approximately 50,000 crores. Friends, this is not promise for the future. I'm just reporting to you what is the present situation. Secretary in the previous session mentioned that according to his estimates, approximately 50 lakh crores will be required to fund the various infrastructure needs of the country. At this moment, we are at around 3 lakh crores. So you can say that whatever may be the future financial requirements to fund infrastructure and the socially oriented sector, LIC would not be contributing less than, say, 6% of that. This is as per present indications, present data. Obviously, we would like to do more than this as times go by. In this cycle of development, and since yesterday we are discussing that infrastructure has to grow, when infrastructure will grow, quality of life will improve. When quality of life will improve, then what point came up briefly in the morning session, the gross domestic savings will increase. When gross domestic savings will increase, then there would be opportunities through insurance and through pensions when these savings will be mobilized, and then these savings go back to fund infrastructure. So this is the development cycle that I can suggest to all of you as far as the long-term deployment of funds by insurance and pension funds is concerned. So going forward, as there would be greater opportunities for investments in infrastructure and in the socially oriented sector. And when I say socially oriented sector, I'm talking about the other parts of infrastructure, that is, say, roads, water, electricity, things which make difference to lives of common people. So as these will expand, they would expand obviously on the back of larger investments, and entities like insurance companies, pension funds would be there to finance those projects to the extent that each one of them would be able to do. Before I close, I just want to make a reference to what the Finance Minister mentioned, to the Finance Minister Gujarat mentioned in his welcome address in the morning's program about the GIFT City as well as the International Finance Center. That gives us means insurance companies and pension funds an outstanding opportunity to not only take advantage of the various benefits that will be associated with working there, but there is an Indian diaspora of 25 million. We just concluded the Bharatiya Pravasi Divas a few days ago. That number itself is 25 million high net worth individuals who have needs for financial services which could be rendered through the International Finance Center. There could be growth in operations of, say, reinsurance as a vertical that could develop in a big way. LIC operates in 13 other countries through joint venture companies. To these companies, we provide technical services and support through our various offices located within the country. We could bring all of them together to the International Finance Center, take advantage of the benefits that we will get, and these opportunities are available for similarly placed large insurance companies and pension funds. Friends, when I close, I want to reassure the government of Gujarat that LIC has been a major partner in the state's progress. Our current exposure of approximately 48,000 crores, I don't want to stick my neck out to it, but we may be one of the largest investors in the state, but that's not surprising. So as we go ahead, more infrastructure development happens, more socially oriented sector programs are taken up. The state of Gujarat can always count upon LIC as a steadfast and loyal partner. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roy. That's quite reassuring. Just want to point out that 50 lakh crores of requirement of funds for the domestic economy, which I mentioned, that is incremental per year. What you are talking about is 3 lakh crore of investment, which is the total investment so far. So I only wish that LIC increases the balance sheet size from 18 lakh crore to 21 lakh crore next year, and 3 lakh crore extra goes to development sector. So, so with this, we come to the next speaker. I'll request Mr. Ashish Chauhan. He is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Bombay Stock Exchange Limited, the capital market. He represents the capital market, and I'll request him to speak.
Distinguished panelists on the dais, friends, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and a privilege to be in front of you. For me, today I need to speak on the international finance centers and the role of stock exchanges in that. Just to give you a perspective of the Indian financial sector, today, correct me sir if I am wrong, the total banking system size is around 80 lakh crore, that's $1.3 trillion. The total size of the stock markets is 100 lakh crore, that's $1.6 trillion. The total size of the Indian financial markets, whether you take banking or the stock markets, is around $3 trillion, give and take few $100 billion. So $3 trillion is what we have. And as Dr. Adia said earlier in the morning today, we need to be raising $800 billion a year, year after year for next 7 to 8 years to meet our infrastructure needs, to meet the needs of the industry and so on and so forth. So that is basically the framework that we need to be literally growing double the size compared to what we are here today. And BSE has been a catalyst of channelizing the savings of the savers in the economy to the industries who actually need the money. Industries, when they require money, they can go to the banks and they can go to the capital markets. Somehow over last 40 years, we have tried to give more importance to the banks and less importance to the stock markets. But if India has to grow forward and actually take its position in the Committee of Nations, it needs to go and walk on both the legs, that is banking as well as stock markets. And that's where the BSE has always been there. It has helped India create $1.6 trillion of wealth. But for me, we have not done enough. We need to be helping India create $16 trillion of wealth, go 10 times higher, and that's what is going to help India create jobs, India create skills, and so on and so forth. Indian stock markets have come a long way. Indian banking system has come a long way. It has become completely automated. Stock markets have come even longer. In 1994-95, Indian stock markets became completely automated. Today, we give you a response time of 200 microseconds. In 1 second, there are 1 million microseconds, 10 lakh microseconds, and we give you a response at that kind of numbers. Why I'm telling you this is that Indian stock markets, Indian stock exchanges, the regulators and regulations are among the best in the world. But are we capable of raising the funds that the Indian industry requires for its infrastructure, for manufacturing, for defense, for services, and so on and so forth? We also need to worry about not only using the capabilities we have developed for stock markets. Can we use them in commodities? Can we use them in debt market? Can we use them for energy trading, for currency, for derivatives, and so on and so forth? Wherever you go in the world, whether you go to New York, London, Australia, Singapore, all the derivatives traders, the top guys also will be Indians. And I think India has a way, India has an opportunity to now export its skills to rest of the world. Today, when Indian entrepreneurs or even Indonesian entrepreneurs or Malaysian entrepreneurs, when they need to raise funds, they look at the domestic markets, but they also look at the foreign markets, offshore markets, the international finance centers, whether it is Hong Kong, whether it is Singapore, whether it is Dubai, London, or New York. Can we develop a market here, right here in this gift city, and say that not only it will raise the funds for India, but also raise funds for the rest of the world, and we become, in a sense, center of the universe? Can we do that? And for me, that is where we have an opportunity today to create a framework. For me, if you are dreaming, let's dream big. Don't be meek. Don't try to create a Canary Wharf. Let's try to create a Singapore. Let's try to ensure that whenever you need to raise funds, you need to go to India, into Gift City. And I would urge the government to also create a separate wing at the airport to straight away come into the Gift City, into the SEZ area, so that it becomes a separate country in a sense, like a Singapore or Dubai or Hong Kong. Why I'm telling you this is important is that the role Singapore has played in raising funds for the rest of the world has been enormous. But more importantly, Hong Kong, which is part of China, over the last 40 years, has helped China raise a lot of funds and actually helped China grow at the pace it has grown over the last 40 years. Can Gift City do that? And for me, it requires a lot of infrastructure, which I'm sure is easy to build. But more importantly, we need to cut the red tape. If the current regulations of income tax, sales tax, FEMA, FERA, everything keeps on applying here, then you will not be able to compete with Dubai. You will not be able to compete with Singapore. You need to completely change our mindset and think transformationally. And my humble request to Sri Adia and everyone on dais as well as off the dais who are listening to this is that let's think transformationally. And the last question I have is, can this International Finance Center, as and when it comes up, can it raise $2 trillion over the next 5 years for Indian economy? And if that happens, BSE will be at the forefront of raising this capital, trading not only equities, but also commodities, energy, debt, mutual funds, and everything, all products that are available there. And BSE has helped India over the last 140 years to create that wealth. But BSE would like to participate in a larger way in the growth that is going to happen over the next 10 years, as Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Finance Minister, Mr. Adia and everyone said, that we need to grow at 8 to 9%. And whatever funds that we can get from rest of the world and also from Indians. Overall, there are $40 trillion of wealth that is floating around for investments, right kind of investments, right kind of rules, regulations, taxation and so on and so forth. And we have a chance to create that in International Finance Center here right in Gift City. I am also a product of Gujarat. I was born in this city, born in and brought up in this city. So it's a proud moment for me to be here. Thank you very much for calling me.
Thank you very much, Ashish. We have a lot of women bankers in this country. I mean, the SBI chairperson is a woman, the Bank of India chairperson is a woman. We have one of the two largest banks, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank also led by women bankers. And also we have one foreign banker led by a woman here. I would request Ms. Kaku Nakhate. She is the president and country head of the Bank of America in India, to speak about the role of foreign banks in domestic and international financial services. Ms. Nakhate, please.
Here? Which one? It's good to see everybody in great numbers. I think Vibrant Gujarat has been about great numbers. I did prepare a little bit because yesterday I was told that it's going to be a presentation. So in the night I worked on some slides. So I'll just present some of them. When it comes to what is the role of foreign bank, that's the topic that's been given, and how can we participate in the success of any country, and India in particular, which is close to my heart. I would say I would cite examples. I can cite examples of my own company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch. The bank has been 50 years. Last year we completed 50 years. And over the years, we have been the pioneers. We did the first ever foreign currency syndicated loan for India, the first ever telecom financing, the first ADR of an Indian company, the first perpetual bond, the first Yankee bond, the first IPO for private sector bank, biotech company, airline, telecom, etc. Besides this, whenever the FDI is open, we are at the forefront. For example, when airline opened up, we were the first ones to get the investment into Jet Airways by 49%. So this happens because we have the global connectivity and a global platform. We would not be competent in the space where Arundhati and the local banks are, but what we can bring to the table is what the best practices across the world have been, and it's across all markets. The history of foreign banks in India actually goes over 150 years. The first foreign bank opened doors in 1850. Their primary role was to promote trade for all the British colonies, and they operated from Shanghai to Burma to India to South Africa and to London. The Imperial Bank, the earlier avatar of State Bank of India, was formed by the merger of 3 presidency banks, all owned and run by British. So they have been here for a long time. The point I'm making here that the contribution has been varied and it has been volatile in many times depending on where the global interest really lies. The future promise that India holds is no doubt broad. Demographic dividend, consumer base, and need for infrastructure, as all my friends here have articulated, are on the biggest thing that we are all looking to aspire to get done here. In the last 9 months, I must say that there has been a dramatic shift in the pace of sentiment, and the global macro environment, unfortunately, has not been very kind. India has been, however, the best performing stock market last year. In fact, if you really see, and I'm very happy to say that it's come back in the top of the mind investment destination amongst emerging markets too. Relatively, if you really look, and I'd like to just show you one chart. This clearly shows that the end of 2015, on GDP numbers, India will overtake Brazil and Russia this year. And I think we should be all proud about it. It's the combined effort of the country that's led to that. By 2019, we would even overtake, UK. In fact, with the accelerated plans, it could be even earlier. In the last 2 decades, having been connected with the institutional foreign investors, because we have been one of the top institutional brokers for 2 decades in a row, I can say that the flows are on an increase, and the portfolio investments or the FPI changes which the government has done is also going to attract new kind of inflows other than just the institutional inflows. The economy is intertwined, and I can only say that the foreign banks will grow as the growth rate increases. If I may say, in the last year, the foreign banks have been at an ebb. Oops. This will show you that at one point of time, foreign banks actually had 7.5% advances out in the country, and now we've ebbed down to around 4.5%. This is increasing month by month, but I think we'll be back to good numbers. They definitely can play a bigger role. If I take the FX loans and currencies, here you can see the different countries that I've tried to highlight. Foreign banks contribute 49% in Singapore, while in India, we are still low at around 4.5%. China has been even lower to us, but some of the Asian countries have to be seen in light with the regulatory barriers that we hold, including ours where rupee is not fully convertible. I have been on several roadshows post Mr. Modi coming in, Prime Minister Modi coming in, and the idea is to attract more investments into India. And one good thing I would say that Mr. Modi's recent visit into the US was clearly a watershed incident. You've seen by State Kerry coming in here in Gujarat to do that, which is kind of unheard of. And I would say our attempt is to bring the mid-market American companies who are looking for higher growth, higher opportunities to come and partner with and joint ventures to really bring in the much needed investments into the different aspects there. We definitely would do all the banking needs, right from transaction banking to the income products, and our footprint would grow accordingly. The last point that I would like to make, that the biggest thing that is in store for us is how do we develop the corporate bond and the bond markets. And as you know, last year, at least in the bond markets, we could raise a lot of foreign bonds. 21 billion was raised by Indian companies, which was only 6 billion in 2013. If I were to put this into perspective, this number can at least be 100 billion in 2 years' time. In fact, we are thinking of smart cities, and smart cities can easily be financed by appropriate instruments like municipal bonds and securitization. Mergers and acquisitions also for the Indian companies have been on the growth path, and they definitely have taken advantage of the lower funds that are available outside. We definitely need growth throughout the country, but even our bigger companies need to be bigger. One of the testament is that when Madam Arun Bhattati did a roadshow in SBI a couple of months back to raise monies, everybody wanted to actually say that, this is the company that we should be backing. It is the economy play, and that's where we all are destined to. So as banks grow, as new companies come, Ashish's dream comes true. in the Gift City. And as Gift City expands its wings to invite more and more players, I really believe that this is the time for India, and we have arrived. It's for all of us to make the best of it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kaku. We have another lady here to speak to us about the World Trade Center, a key enabler for economic growth. Ms. Mariette Mulari, she is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the World Trade Center in Winnipeg, Canada. She's from Canada. Ms. Mariette.
Thank you. Well, I'm very happy to be here. So I just click that one? Okay. So I'm surrounded with experts in finance and investment. That's not my field. I was asked to come here to speak about the World Trade Center in Winnipeg, in Canada, and how it's an enabler for growth. But I have to say that since I'm here, I arrived Saturday, I've been impressed, I've been wowed, and I've especially been inspired. I mean, you have a Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, the Chief Minister of Gujarat, you have people in government all rowing in the same direction. You're lucky. It's fantastic. Everybody's talking about it's India's time and invest in India. Guess what? I got the message. So I will go through my presentation and give you a sense, a little bit about who I am and where I come from. I'll speak about 3 specific things. So I will speak to you a little bit about where I come from, so you are situated. What are the opportunities in my area? About the World Trade Center and how it has a place here and in the world to really facilitate trade that for people and business people interested in trade. And then I'll finish off by inviting you to come to Winnipeg in Canada and start doing trade, look for investors, because you're ready to attract the investors, so come and get them. So this is where I am, in Canada, right in the middle. See, there's our partnership right there. We have a lot of partnerships already with Canada and India, but as you know, our 2 countries have been trying to negotiate an agreement, a trade agreement. So let's encourage them to continue and hopefully sign the agreement within the year or so. Now, I've been hearing Make in India. I've been hearing about this initiative that just makes sense for you. And also the 5 T's. And I heard about the talents, about exporting your talents and your skills. I think you should keep your talents, except Canada will take whoever is willing to come and be exported to Canada. Because the ones that are here in my city and in my province, the Indians that come with a baggage of knowledge and of skills, and they integrate quite well. So that's the only exception, okay? Now, let's situate where I come from, about Canada. Most of our cities in Canada are close to the US border. Because as you know, when I left, it was minus 28. So I come here to plus 28. So this is my big holiday of summer right now. So we're situated, as you can see, Winnipeg is what you should be looking at. Winnipeg is the city right in the middle of Canada. We're really a hub. We have the North American Free Trade Agreement that we've signed quite a few years ago, and we're seeing the results. So that's why those kinds of agreements do yield results. This is Canada's, as an investment. About Manitoba and Winnipeg, this is where I come from. You see the polar bear there. Yes, we do have polar bears, and we have them in the north part of the province, but we also have a lot of agriculture, as you can see, and vibrant cities. This is where we're situated right in the middle. So you see the rest of the country. Well, the one that you should retain in your head is Winnipeg. We talk about, I hear the discussions about the competitiveness between the states here in India. Well, we have the same situation, but it's called co-opetition. So it's cooperation with competition at the same time. Winnipeg is the capital city of Manitoba, which is my province in the middle of Canada. And as you can see, we have 4 distinct seasons. So, I mean, some spiritual leaders, brag about walking on water. We do it a lot. It's called ice. So, we also, 98% of our hydroelectricity our power is from hydroelectricity. It's sustainable, it's green, and it's among the lowest rates in North America. We have largest aerospace sector in Western Canada, the largest bus industry in North America, the largest cluster of composites, and of course we're Canada's first inland port, because we are in the middle of the country. Agribusiness, huge. We send a lot of our lentils and peas to India. We have the biotechnology. We have a level 4 lab that actually we developed the vaccine for Ebola, so we've been quite busy, unfortunately, lately. Aerospace industry, just as a fun little fact, a lot of Gujaratis come to Winnipeg to do their training to become pilots. So we are being able to train them a little bit faster. There's less of a lineup. So a lot of your pilots in India, in the airs of India, are from Gujarati that have studied in Winnipeg. The distribution, we're, of course, because we're in the middle of the country, we're a distribution hub. So I'll just go through this quickly, so I'll get to it. The Port of Churchill was a seaport. This is Centre Port, which is the first inland port and the first free trade zone in Canada. It's called Centre Port. Now, we've got a lot of business already in India. For example, this is the food storage initiative. But as I mentioned before, there's so much more that we could do, especially if we have a free trade agreement. World Trade Center. So why did we join the World Trade Center network? We're a fairly new World Trade Center, but the reason we joined is because it's one of the best ways to find another partner in another part of the world. So for us, it was a decision to put ourselves on the map, to belong on a map somewhere where we know that we have a big family. So there's more than 300 World Trade Centers around the world in 90 countries. And all these World Trade Centers have professionals, just like here in India. In India, you already have 12 World Trade Centers, and I think you're looking at having 20. World Trade Center is a good investment. It's a good investment for government, it's a good investment for business people, because you have a family worldwide that's ready to help. So when somebody from Pune, from Gujarat, from Ahmedabad, from wherever in India, from Bangalore, that are interested in doing business with Canada, they look for a World Trade Center. You have World Trade Centers here, use them. You have more that could be coming up. That would be a benefit. It's a big family that the headquarters is in New York, and what we do is trade and facilitate trade. These are some of the, I took some pictures that I thought were pretty nice of your World Trade Centers. So the World Trade Centers, the number one reason that we decided to be part of it is that we're leveraging this big family. It's a way where there's a reciprocity understanding. And actually this afternoon, World Trade Center Winnipeg will sign with World Trade Center here, and we are signing with the ones that are representing 12 World Trade Centers. So it's going to be a way to kind of consolidate our partnership. It's an access point to trade for Manitoba. It's a place to get information, business information, market intelligence. It's a one-stop shop, and it's all about connecting yourself worldwide. Last thing, I want to invite you to a business-to-business forum in Winnipeg. I want you to find out how to do business in Canada, who's your best business partner, find a joint venture, a strategic alliance. It's in May 2016, so save the date. I'm giving you a lot of warning. It's in 1 year and a half or so. It's a multi-sector matchmaking session. Jagat Shah, who's a representative from Manitoba here in Ahmedabad, actually, and he has participated in Centralia. So look at the airplane. You know where to go. Just follow the plane. And I'll just show you a quick video. That's about a minute and 20 seconds. And I thank you very much for your attention. I really wish you come to Winnipeg, Manitoba in a year and a half or so.
Hello. Ma'am, extremely sorry, but due to the time constraint, we might not look at the video right now. We are extremely sorry for this. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Marriott. Now we have